Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Good day to all of you out there following us on Money Radio. Those of you in Nigeria and in the diaspora, we say welcome to the Agribusiness segment of Money Radio. Today we are discussing a touchy issue. Over the past several years, Nigeria's agribusiness or agricultural products have been rejected by the European and American markets, and sometimes, yes, the Asian markets. Recently, the Director-General of NAFDAC lamented that 76% of Nigeria's agricultural products are rejected. That is a huge percentage. 76. That means only 24% of Nigeria's agricultural products are accepted by those markets. That is a huge loss also to our farmers who intend to get some foreign currency and improve their businesses. It's a huge loss to us also, so the federal government, because what they get or what is lost to spoilage could have been used as a good foreign exchange payment. What's the way forward? To me, on this show is Mr. Paul, and we say welcome to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm your host also, Keith Hammond. We say welcome. What's the way forward, Mr. Paul?
I think the way forward is for us to re-examine our agri-produce export process. You remember that in 2017, when Chief Audu was the Minister of Agriculture, there was determination by the government to increase export of yam from Nigeria. At that time, the minister was shocked that most of the yams that were exported were rejected by the European Union, by the United States, and even China, among others. Which now begs the question, what happened? Because we have several agencies that are saddled with responsibility of Nigeria agri-export process. You have NAFDAC, National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control. You have National Seed Council of Nigeria. You have Nigeria Export Promotion Council. You have Standard Organization of Nigeria. You have the Custom Service. You have Nigerian Ports Authority. You have the Nigeria Federal Airport Authority. All these organizations are supposed to work in synergy to ensure that whatever is leaving this country as agri-exports are well scrutinized and passed through the due process. Apparently, these agencies failed in their responsibilities. That was why those yams were rejected. Now, it's also instructive that yes, almost how many years after Chief Ogbe raised that alarm, NAFDAC is still complaining. Sadly enough, NAFDAC is, of all these organizations I mentioned, who are supposed to be looking after our agri-exports, NAFDAC bears the highest responsibility because it's an agency saddled with the responsibility of controlling the quality of food that were being produced in Nigeria, being processed in Nigeria, being sold in Nigeria, including those that are being exported. So NAFDAC failed to do its duty, or the security agencies failed to stop those that smuggled the agri-produce out of the country without passing through due process of NAFDAC and other agencies, including Nigerian National Quarantine service, Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services.
Are
These
you
are some of the agencies.
advocating? Are you advocating some public-private partnership? Because agriculture is supposed to be a private sector-driven thing. Are you saying there should be some public-private partnership kind of synergy? All the federal government is supposed to do, and the NAFDAC is an agency of the federal government. They're supposed to create that enabling environment. Is the environment not an enabling one?
I think, first of all, this has nothing to do with the private sector participating in the process. We are talking about uh, making sure that the quality of agricultural produce leaving Nigeria are scrutinized, that they pass through all the necessary processes. For example, the European Union and the United States, they test all these products. They want to look at the radiation level. Are you getting it?
Yes.
They want to look at the level of pesticide use. They want to see certification from NAFDAC, which show that these products are safe. They want to see that NAFDAC can guarantee that these things are passed through the necessary process, and they will test it. It's not that when NAFDAC test it
Yes.
and satisfy it,
Uh-huh.
when it gets to the borders of these countries, they still run another test to confirm that it passed through the due process, which before they can allow it into their country.
What you're saying is the point you're making suggests that people who go through these processes, the exporters, are bypassing the process.
Exactly. One of the challenges we face in this country is Nigerians that refuse to follow due process. They try to circumvent the laid down procedure. Perhaps they don't want to spend the necessary money. They don't want the goods they want to export out of the country to be scrutinized. So, and in that case, it is our custom service. Are you getting it?
Yes.
That failed the country. Because when those goods are being moved through the airports or through the ports, they ought to have asked them for the certification of these agri produce that are leaving the country. Are you getting it? Because NAFDAC is the representative of World Trade Organization in Nigeria in terms of certifying goods that leave Nigeria in international trade with other countries. So that is basically, which means this shows that there is lack of synergy between NAFDAC, Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services, the Nigerian Customs Service, and all other agencies that are saddled with responsibility of controlling what leaves the country.
I was privileged to talk to a former president of Nigeria American Chamber of Commerce sometime about a decade ago. And he told me the process, the export process, especially at the port, there is huge delay. Might that be a factor where this, say, yam, for example, gets decomposed? Are the storage facilities in those places so bad? What's really the issue?
Of course, I know in Nigeria we are having challenges of storage facility. Before some of these agri produce leave the country, they are not well stored. Some of them develop molds even before they leave Nigeria.
That means they must have spent so much time at the ports.
That also means the country need to get good storage facilities for the farm produce. That is why the private sector you are talking about, there should be synergy. Whether government need to get involved by building storage facilities around the country, so that those who are involved in export of goods can see where to store those goods, these agricultural produce, so that they can retain their freshness to the level that European Union and United States can be able to accept it after they pass through all the other processes, all the other certifications that are supposed to be given by NAFDAC.
Let's get things clear, though. Mr. Paul, I have some friends in the US and in Europe that I usually talk to. Um, Not necessarily Nigerian friends. There are some of them. We sincerely apologize to you who are following us for that brief break in transmission due to technical fault. You're still on to Money Radio, and I remain your host, Case Harmon, and I'm here in the studio with Mr. Paul. And we are discussing continuous rejection of Nigeria's agricultural products. And I was putting a question to Mr. Paul just before that break that let's be frank. I have friends in Europe, I have friends in the US, and not necessarily Nigerian friends, friends from other parts of Africa. And they love Nigerian products. When I say they love Nigerian products, I'm specifically talking about egusi, for example, obono, and a host of Nigerian foods. Um, just the other day, in fact, I was talking to somebody. She said that was on a Friday. She said, "Thank God it's Friday, and I'm going to order my favorite African dish, egusi." So our foods are loved out there, not just by Africans. Westerners also love Nigerian foods, and they appreciate them. And there is the demand for African foods. The demand is cleared by the fact that African foods are expensive, and of course we know to a certain extent now why it's expensive because very little is getting into those markets where there is huge demand. And if we could just work on the, preserving those products, not just preserving, producing, maybe the level of fertilizers put into producing those products may be too high. Let's get some education on that from you, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, what you said is true. That Nigerian food is appreciated by the world, and that is the reason why the government itself need to pay attention to things like the export of this agricultural produce or food from Nigeria to ensure that they are well processed, to ensure that they meet international standard, so that they will not be rejected. Because it's an embarrassment that most of
76%.
these foodstuffs that are coming from Nigeria are rejected. Don't forget that when Audrobe was lamenting about the rejection of Nigerian yams, the yams from Ghana was accepted. So that's a lesson that we need to learn. If you do the right thing, you will get the right markets. So what we have to do is to pay attention to the process. How can they do it? NAFDAC need to sensitize the farmers, especially those who are involved in the export of processed food. What are the requirements that are needed abroad? What the standard you have to meet? The level of pesticide that you can apply. We know in this country that some farmers use even some harmful pesticides to store beans and stuff like that. When you want to export something like that, immediately they test it, they will know what is that is not it's not healthy for them. But they need many of the farmers are doing it out of ignorance. So there is a need for education, championed by NAFDAC, championed by Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services, and then in collaboration with other agencies that are in the ports that are involved in export of food products from Nigeria.
Talking about educating our people, what about this National Orientation Agency? Don't you think they need to come in at
Yeah,
that level?
you are correct. National Orientation Agency, by their mandate, they can virtually do anything in terms of information dissemination.
Yes.
Anything that government want to convey to Nigerians, they can. It's a vehicle that can be useful for any purpose of government. That would be good to enlighten Nigerians on the need to practice produce food, process food in such a way that it could be accepted internationally. What they have to do is go to NAFDAC. Are you getting it?
Yes.
If you are involved in the export of food from Nigeria, get the requirements from NAFDAC, pass through the process so that whatever you are sending out of this country will be in line with what is acceptable internationally.
Let's take a short break. Let's just get a breather. When we come back, we are still talking about continuous rejection of Nigeria's agricultural products. Please stay with us, those of you following us. We'll be right back.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
So welcome back, viewers, to the agribusiness segment of Money Radio. I'm your host, Case Hammond, and I'm with Mr. Paul in the studio. We're discussing the continuous rejection of Nigeria's agri-products. And my guest here, an in-house analyst, is still trashing the issue. Mr. Paul, it seems Nigeria is missing a huge opportunity. In 2000, in the year 2000, May 2000 to be specific, the American Congress passed the African Growth and Opportunities Act. That was to be in effect between 2000 and 2015. And in 2015, June, that was renewed and extended to September 2025. Considering that we are at the tail end of the month of August, we have only 4 years for Nigeria to latch on to that opportunity and for farmers to have access to that seemingly free market of the US, which is a huge market because Nigeria's agri products or Nigeria's products are actually popular in on the American market. So it seems we are missing a huge opportunity here. What do you think?
I agree with you. We are really missing a lot. If we are able to concentrate only on the issue of food exports to United States, if we are to concentrate on that, I think Nigeria has one of the highest diaspora population in the United States, if you compare with other African countries.
Yes.
And even if you compare it in terms of the whole world in general, Nigeria has diaspora population in US is quite huge.
Yes.
That population alone is enough to sustain profitable agricultural export from Nigeria. Are you getting it?
Mm-hmm.
And you have also seen we are in an era where people are trying to find their roots. Many Americans are also discovering their Nigerian roots. And when they discover these roots, one of the ways they try to engage with Nigeria is to try to acculturize themselves
with the food.
with Nigerian food.
Yeah.
Are you getting it? So they try to go to Nigerian restaurants, they try to eat Nigerian food, they try to dress Nigerian. So those Nigerian tailors, Nigerian dressmakers, fashion designers, it's an opportunity for them to capture the American market. It's a very huge market, and I think we are not doing enough. We have this tendency in this country for a very long time that we are only concentrated on short-term gain. And what is the short-term gain? Oil money is easy. They will just pump it out from the ground, sell it, and bring you the money. But you can see the process of sending agricultural produce. It's a bit tedious, it's a bit technical.
Yeah.
So Nigeria don't want to capitalize on it. But other countries like Ghana, other countries like Senegal, Ivory Coast, they have capitalized on all these things and they have captured agricultural markets abroad.
Yeah.
That's why we need to strengthen our institutions so that we can be able to guarantee that whatever food stuff, whatever food processed, half processed, fully processed that we are sending out of Nigeria pass through the due process. Must so that all the necessary certifications are given by NAFDAC. Because when NAFDAC give all the necessary certification to a product, it makes it easier for it to be accepted abroad. Even though we know that despite the certification by NAFDAC, they still subjected to their own test.
Yeah.
But at least NAFDAC could be able to defend and just say, I subjected these products
to my standards,
to international certification standard, including the European Union standard. So why are you rejecting it? But when we go and send this thing, smuggle them inside, or try to pass through shortcuts, it hurts the country.
Yeah.
You mess up the image of the country, and the image of the country is already in a very bad shape.
Yeah.
So anything that could damage the image of the country in terms of exporting poorly processed food that have spoiled, poisonous food that is not safe, the safety cannot be guaranteed, should not be allowed to leave this country.
Yeah, that's you make a point there. Let's be frank. There are some agricultural products from Nigeria that are actually making those markets. We have sesame seed; it's popular. Cashew nuts. We have ginger. In fact, I was speaking to a Japanese who was an envoy to Nigeria, a Japanese charge. That was in the year 2014. I spoke to him and he revealed to me that Nigerian ginger is among the most choiced of all gingers that they consume in Japan. That they actually go for Nigerian ginger. That is a ginger of choice, according to him. So our products are okay out there. But there's this concern I'm having when it comes to the frequent rejection of Nigerian foods. You know, the way we process African foods, some of our African foods, may actually meet our standard, but not necessarily their standard. When I talk about standard, I'm talking about hygiene standard. Take, for example, some of our foods must undergo fermentation. Fufu, for example, that's one of our staples. What we call in the Midwestern region, they call it Santana, or in the Western region, they say Apu. Yes, fufu. And some parts of Africa, if you like, that fish actually goes through serious fermentation, and it's that smell that comes from it that adds the taste to those African foods. A number of other African foods must go through that process, which is good for us. It's good for our brothers out there. But those are the foods that may undergo or may be subjected to the standards of European and American standards organization, which we may feel.
Well, that may be true to some extent, but
Let's put fufu, for example, on the
fufu,
table.
I doubt if fufu is actually one of the major exports that we are to take out of this country, because you are talking about fufu in terms of you are talking about on the stage of preparation for eating.
Yes.
I doubt if for you to do that means you have to find a way of making sure the cassava don't pass through that fermentation process. You have to either grind it or something like that. I don't think that somebody will carry a fermented fufu and try to move it to the United States.
I'll give you an example. Sometime in 2019, I was privileged to send pap to Canada. Pap made of corn to Canada to a friend. And that pap, of course, it goes through fermentation also.
Yeah.
Although the people at the post office were saying that they had to put in fact, they had to mix it with coffee, which is probably a preservative. And they said if it were dried pap, it would be better. But the fact that I was sending it wet, that it was a problem. They had to buy a few, what they call preservatives.
That was what I was saying earlier.
Yeah. But that goes
That
through fermentation too, and it's African food.
You have to find a way of processing it in such a way that it could be acceptable internationally.
Yes.
You can't send it the way you do it locally.
Yes.
And that's
So
why
if they were
NAFDAC,
powdered,
and of course, when you did it, you didn't pass through the good process.
no, I didn't.
Because that's part of the problem. There is a need for anybody who is moving any food stuff from Nigeria, let it pass through NAFDAC.
So is there a way to
country
make?
will be saved the embarrassment?
Yes. Is there a way to
of,
make that pap powdered?
Of course,
There should be a way to dry it.
yes, there are ways that there are people who are processing them in this country,
Yeah.
who are packaging them well. You write the processes, how you can use it, process it, and eat it.
So even the fufu
everywhere.
we're talking about is because people can't prepare fufu
Yes.
in their houses, so that process is possible.
Yes,
So
that's
it's
what
just-
this one you're talking about. This fufu you're talking about. This, the fermentation of fufu and all is a traditional process you're talking about.
Yes,
But
yes,
there are people who are even in Nigeria here who don't have time for that. They buy the grinded one.
yes.
They grind them. You grind it, and people still eat it and get satisfaction from it.
So,
To me, this the why this our discussion is important is that NAFDAC should do more
yes,
to save the country the embarrassment of export of food stuff that are not acceptable internationally.
yes, I agree with you. Other countries are actually leveraging on the opportunities that are available to Nigeria. I'll tell you, if you get to the Ivory Coast, if you get to their supermarkets, in fact, people have told me in America that they buy banga soup, palm butter, as they call it, banga soup, what we eat here. They buy it in tin in the US on department store shelves in the US, written made in La Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, made in Ghana. Those kind of things. We need to up our game to that when it comes to that processing aspect of our foods, and make sure that we don't depend on oil. So many agricultural products that um, we can get foreign earnings from, and improve this economy. Our farmers can be richer than they are. We need to do that.
Yeah, it's something that government need to work on,
Yeah.
and it's something that they need to carry along the stakeholders, the farmers, those in the export business, the security agencies at the ports and the
Yeah.
seaports and the airports.
Thanks very much for being here with me, Mr. Paul.
Thank you for
Thanks to you out there, our listeners, and all of you following us. Thanks to our producers. We say continue to follow us, and tomorrow we'll be back with another bumper edition of Money Radio. Always stay blessed.